27. The Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months, and shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to their house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. Now this is the very first Passover. This is what we're supposed to remember. This is what we're bringing to remembrance, what God did for us in the very first Passover when we were leaving Egypt. Okay? So we're going to go through and see exactly what happened and what God wanted us to do to remember this. So, if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. So it's not just sheep. Sheep or goats can be the Passover lamb. All right? You shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. So, what evening is this? A lot of people think that this is the evening where it's turning into the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Well, is it? I don't think it is. It's when the 13th day ends, the evening and the morning were the first day. The evening and the morning were the second day. So this is more than likely when they first did it. It was when the 13th ended and the 14th started in evening. That's what it's talking about there. And I'll show you later on a proof of that. Okay. They shall take the blood and strike it on the two side posts, and on the upper door post of the house, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs shall they eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. It's all the innards, the guts. Okay, and ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. So you got to burn the rest of it up if you don't finish eating it. And that's why you could share it with other households, because sometimes if it's a small family, you're not going to be able to eat a whole animal that's a year old, because they get pretty big in a year. They're not a little dinky anymore. Thus shall you eat it with your loins girded, with your shoes on your feet, with your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. They had to eat it quick, okay? But remember, this is the first time. This is when this was the real deal. This isn't how we do it today. This is when this was Yahweh was in their presence, bringing them out of Egypt, and he was destroying their gods, right? So this is what we're remembering. There's a little bit of difference between the first one and how we remember it. So we'll get into that. You eat it in haste. It is Yahweh's Passover, okay? For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night. Yahweh said he will. That's another interesting side note. And will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both men and beasts, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yahweh. So Yahweh is the one that does the killing of the firstborns. We're always told, well, it's the death angel. Maybe Yahweh made himself the death angel and killed them all. I don't know. But he says he's the one that did it, so I believe him. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. So had they not put the blood on the posts, their firstborn would have died with the Egyptians. Some of the Egyptians heard this, because they didn't leave the Egyptians without notice that this is going to happen. They told all the Egyptians too. And if they decided they didn't want the firstborns dying, they did it. And there were a lot of them that did, because they came out of the land with the Israelites. Okay? This day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. Well, we're still part of forever. Forever hasn't ended yet, so we're supposed to still do it. All right. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. What is leaven?
Yeast.
A lot of people give that answer, yeast. Yeast is a leaven. But what they're talking about there is that lump of dough that they pinch and hold back for the next day when they bake their bread the following morning. That's leaven. You can look it up. That's what it is. When they're kneading their dough, getting ready to make their challah or whatever, they take a pinch of it, keep it back, bake that. That stays till the next morning, and they mix that in with their next lump, because that's what they didn't have packaged yeast back then. That was their leaven, and that's what he's telling them. That when it comes up, you're to throw your old leaven out. That's what they're talking about. That lump that they used to make the bread every day, because it would puff their bread up. Okay. You shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitations shall you eat unleavened bread. So he's telling you, when you remember this, you're to eat unleavened bread the whole feast. That's 7 days, plus the day that they ate the Passover meal, which was the 14th. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, Draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover, and you shall take a bunch of hyssop, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. Okay, so that concludes that page. How do I get to the next one?
Sideways.
No, on the pad.
Ah, okay. I am digitally, I'm handy capable when it comes to digital things, so forgive me.
Don't feel left out.
Ah, much easier, thank you.
Much of us are.
All right. For Yahweh, here it is again, he said it's him. Yahweh will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, Yahweh will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when you come to the land which Yahweh will give you, according as he hath promised, that you shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, What mean you by this service? That you say, It is the sacrifice of Yahweh's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses, and the people bowed the head and worshipped. So we're supposed to instruct our kids. We're supposed to tell them about this, and we're supposed to do this perpetually through our generations from one year to the next. It's a beautiful thing, especially since we know that we are Israel. This is talking to us personally. So this isn't that people over there, remember that, and we're just reading about it in a history book. I mean, these are our people. These are our peeps, and we're part of them. And I'm pretty excited about that. All right, the next passage, Exodus 12:43 through 51. And Yahweh said unto Moses and Aaron, This is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. Now, I'm not going to get into all the Hebrew terms, but there's a couple different Hebrew words for strangers and the strangers in your midst and all that. We're just going to go over the King James because I really don't have enough time to get into all that. There's a little bit of a difference. Maybe you'll catch it, maybe you won't, and maybe during Midrash we can look it up. Every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall you break a bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. When a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover of the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no circumcised person shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. See, it kind of throws around the English term stranger, but it's a little different context when you get into the Hebrew. So I don't want you to be confused by that. So it came to pass, selfsame day that Yahweh did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. All right. Leviticus 23, 4 through 22. These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. And that's Moedim. In the 14th day of the first month, at even, is Yahweh's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. In the first day shall you have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. And the seventh day it's a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speaking to the children of Israel, saying unto them, When you come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the firstfruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. That is the day of firstfruits. Okay? He's telling you when it is. It's after the weekly Sabbath, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. All right, and you shall offer that day, when you wave the sheaf, an he lamb without blemish in the first year, for a burnt offering unto Yahweh. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2 tenths deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of a hin. And you shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that you have brought an offering unto your God. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. I used to think that you couldn't reap until after the wave offering was made, and that's common to be taught. But it actually talks about doing the whole harvest before that time. And so the first fruit comes from that initial harvest. You just can't eat of it until it's waved. So you can harvest the whole thing, and store it up. They would bundle it in sheaves, like he was talking about, lay it down, and let it dry out and everything. Okay. You shall neither eat bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that it's been offered to God. And that's a statute forever throughout your generations as well. And you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall you number 50 days. And you shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. Meat there is talking about food. It's not talking about the flesh of an animal. Unto the Lord. And that's also Shavuot, Pentecost. So he's telling you how to calculate that. It's 7 Sabbaths, or 50 days, after the wave offering, on the first day of the week following the weekly Sabbath, during unleavened bread. Okay? So it's a lot of information to take in, but this is how we're supposed to do it. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall you number 50 days, and you shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. You shall bring out of your habitation 2 wave loaves of the 2 tenths deals. They shall be of fine flour, and they shall be baked with leaven. They are the first fruits unto the Lord. And of course that's the wheat, and the other grain is not the barley that they're talking about there. Okay. You shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish in the first year, and 1 young bullock, 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto the Lord, with their meat offerings and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto the Lord. Then you shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. There's a lot of information here talking about kids, those are the goats, lambs, those are the sheep, and there's different types of animals that you use for different offerings. We're not going to get into all that, what the meaning is and all that. That's kind of a deeper thing. We're just going over everything that the scriptures have to say about what we do during Passover and what God said we need to do. So we're not even going to get into all the traditions, because there's tons of traditions that you can do, and I personally don't care about traditions unless it brings glory to God's word and to Him, So if it's a tradition that you don't find in the Word of God, but it does that, and it doesn't add to it or take away from it, then I ain't got nothing but love for you, But this is what we got to follow. This is our manuscript. This is our instruction manual on how to do this. And when we're doing it right, it's not boring. It really isn't. When you do it right and you know you're doing it right, you're pleasing to Him. And the more things that you do for the Father correctly, it's not a burden, but it brings blessing into your life. It adds blessing into other areas of your life.
Amen.
I mean, that's what He promises to us. When you're obedient, He's going to bless you. So, I want the blessing, and I'm pretty sure you guys do too. So, it's good to know this stuff. Some people, it's kind of boring too, because there's so much information. But when you've got that fire in your belly, you can't help but love it, because you want to know how to please Him.